Hi everyone, this is Hal Hawkins with the Retro World Series. Again, this is episode 5. Yeah, we actually made it this far, which I'm super happy about. Few things to update you on. If you haven't watched this before, some things have changed. We are no longer doing really any conventions this year. There may be one or two in the fall, but MomoCon got canceled, Dallas Fan Expo got canceled, Game On Expo, Southern Fried, they're all done. This is while we're doing this podcast, we're trying to create some more content for y'all. We're trying to bring out more information and more cool stuff about the retro gaming world. We're also spending this time to make next year better. For example, I'm not trying to brag, but we found this really cool auction, as you can see on the screen, this really cool auction in GovDeals where 65 20-inch JVC TVs that are really, really good condition that were for sale. I got them for $62. Now you may be saying, oh man, $62. But, well, as you can see in the bottom right corner, I have to drive from Texas to South Carolina to get them, which I'm going to go do on Sunday, but it's going to be a fun trip. But next year's events, our next events after this weekend, are going to look fantastic because all the TVs are going to be exactly the same. No more, mix and match everywhere. It's all going to look the same, and I think it's going to really, really, really look cool. And these are really high quality TVs, so the games are going to look even better. They also have components, so we can up the video quality if we really want to. So that's a really cool thing. I don't, go to CRT Collective Facebook group if you want to get tips on where to find CRTs, because that's where I saw it just out of nowhere, and I guess I got lucky and was only one of two bidders. And I guess plenty of people want CRTs, but they don't want 65 of them. I want 65 of them. Now, if you're wanting CRTs, when I get back with all of these, I'm going to be getting rid of a lot of my TVs for 10, 20, $30 depending on which model. So if you need a CRT and you're in the Texas area, I definitely got the hookup because I got 60 to 70 more in storage that I'm looking to let go of. Probably about 40 or so of them I want to get rid of. There's quite a few I just want to hang on just because they're good ones, and you never know what size event we're going to do. But yeah, if you need some CRTs, I got your hookup in Texas. So yeah, that's going to be really cool. Now for the main event for tonight, I am going to announce, and we teased you a little bit about it last week. We are doing a summer league of retro tournaments online, since we're not doing any in-person tournaments, unfortunately. We're switching to everything being online for this summer, from June 20th all the way to September 26th, I believe. So here's our trailer. Hope you like it. All right, so if you can guess, I'm going to give you extra points if you can guess the song, but definitely wanted to give it a summer theme, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If we went a little too fast, it's a 30-second trailer, just because when we push this thing, we've got to keep it under actually 31 seconds according to like Facebook rules and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the actual schedule. So next weekend, June 20th, we're going to King of Fighters 98 and Super Mario Kart. June 27th, we're going to have GoldenEye and Killer Instinct. Now, a bit of a clarification. Most of the fighting games you're seeing are going to be on MAME. So this time around, we can actually do the real arcade version. July 11th, Dr. Mario. Now, on July 11th, the Tetris is actually going to be Tengen Tetris. So we are going to do versus Tetris. This isn't going to be where, you play separate games and your actions really don't affect each other. We're going to do the actual versus Tetris. And this is kind of cool. The cool thing about online is that version of Tetris is very hard to find, very expensive. So it's very difficult to run a live tournament with those and having the right kind of carts for it. So, we're going to do a Tengen Tetris version versus, or a 2-player version. And then the 18th, we're going to do NHL 94. That's going to be the Genesis version with Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. July 25th, really cool. We're going to do our first PC tournament. We were going to do a Duke Nukem tournament at MomoCon. Now, that was going to be the Xbox 360 version. Now we're going to switch to the PC version. It's going to be with and we'll go into this in later detail, but this is going to be with a software program called HDuke and another server program called Yang 2020, where we can actually use our own maps and our custom maps or just the regular maps. And actually, it allows us to have a spectator mode so we can stream it. And so Duke Nukem is going to be, or Duke Nukem 3D, that is going to be PC. And I'm pretty sure you can use a Mac for it too. But it's going to be really fun that we can actually start implementing those kind of games too. So maybe in the future we can implement other PC tournaments on the retro end. But Duke Nukem seems like a really good start for a first-person shooter standpoint. And the same day is going to be Soul Calibur. Now, that is actually going to be the Dreamcast version, and we're going to be using, and I'll go over the details. We're going to be using an emulator program called RetroArch. You may have heard of it or not, but it's a program that allows us to host online games, but it also allows us to spectate it so we can stream it. And it comes with a whole host of different emulators. The Soul Calibur, I had issues on the main version of it, and the same will be said about the Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And they're arcade perfect on Dreamcast, so we're going to use the Dreamcast version. The benefit is in this particular series, you don't have to use the Dreamcast controller. You can use pretty much any USB controller or USB adapter like a Tomy or a Mayflash. So you can use an SNES controller or any controller you want for any of these tournaments. So that definitely gives you a little more flexibility there. So Soul Calibur, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 are going to be on Dreamcast, but also we'll have the save files for you. So everything will be unlocked. All the characters will be unlocked, unlike the arcade version. August 1st will be Diddy Kong Racing. That's our first time doing it. We've had a few people asking it. Now, it's not as popular as some of the other racing games, granted, but since this is online, anybody across the country, really across the world, can play in it. And so I think this is a good time to introduce that one. I wanted to do a really good mix of tournaments we have done that are really popular and other tournaments that we haven't done. Just got a good balance of the two. That also includes Tekken 2. That's the main version. And August 15th, like I said, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's the Dreamcast version. But what's really cool is we can actually start implementing really hard to find Neo Geo games that are really cool. So Windjammers. I'm debating whether I'm actually going to play in any tournaments. Windjammers is one of my favorite games. I'm lucky enough to have an MVS cart for it for my Neo Geo cabinet, but not everybody has that opportunity. It's one of the best games on Neo Geo, hands down. It's just a lot of fun. It's a good one-on-one competitive game. The disadvantage is that it was never ported really to anything until the PS4s, I believe. And I'm not going to make everybody get PS4s, especially with these console wars. I don't think everyone wants a PS4. Not everybody wants an Xbox One for that matter. But so we are going to use the main version of Windjammers. It's going to be a really fun tournament. I haven't quite completed getting the rules straight for that one just because it's a new thing and we got a little bit of time. And as you notice, we are doing some bye weeks in between. It's July 4th or Labor Day or something like that. It isn't going to be all sequential weeks. Now, August 22nd will be Crash Team Racing. We've done that plenty of times. We've also done Pokemon Stadium 2 with good results. So a lot of people love those two games. So that's going to be week 8. August 29th is going to be Miss Pac-Man, which is the NES version. It's going to be the Tengen version. See, For some reason, we go with the Tengen version, but it offers more flexibility than those Namco versions. They like this one has a really good 2-player versus match where you're on screen at the same time, Miss Pac-Man and Pac-Man, and it's a lot of fun. We've had some really, really good tournaments with some amazing players that come in and can just go on marathon matches, and it's really fun to watch. So if you think you're good at Miss Pac-Man, this is the one where you can actually be on screen with another player simultaneously, taking on the mazes and the ghosts. It's going to be a lot of fun. And another cool thing is we're going to be doing a Primal Rage tournament. Now, I remember Primal Rage, and it was awesome. And I think a lot of people loved it, and it was a really fun fighting game. Problem was that it wasn't ported very well, or at least it was ported to very expensive systems, or at least the games are expensive now. So the closest really to the best port is the Saturn version. If we were to do a live Primal Rage tournament, we've done the 32X version. The 32X version is pretty decent. It's not quite up to par compared to all the other versions, but the problem is that it gets really expensive, and I don't really like setting up 32Xs all the time. It's just a mess, and I think if you've owned a 32X, you understand. You may be like, well, it wasn't that hard, and I go, well, you only had to set it up one time. I have to set it up 8 or 9 times at an event, and then I got to break it all down again. So it's not fun. So we can actually do the main version of Primal Rage, and I think it's going to be really fun to actually have a real Primal Rage tournament. We've done a few 32X ones in the past, but this is going to be a real one. September 12th, just like last year in August, we had NBA Jam Tournament Edition and we had NFL Blitz. This is actually going to be the main version of NBA Jam, so we can do a true arcade version of that. And then we are going to actually, and this is another Dreamcast game because the weird thing about NFL Blitz is the main version of NFL Blitz is extremely finicky, really, really finicky. And so I made the decision to go with the NFL Blitz 2000 for the Dreamcast emulator because it's very stable and it's very clean. It's practically arcade perfect. I wouldn't, there's no reason not to play it. It's really, really good. Again, you don't have to use the Dreamcast controller, so a lot more options there. So September 2nd, Week 10, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and NFL Blitz 2000. September 19th, Mario Kart 64 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And obviously that's the 64 version, but you can use any controller you want. We have all, again, I'm going to repeat, we have all the save files. So when you download what you download for this, we'll provide the save files so everything's unlocked, including all the courses or characters, whatever each game requires. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo will be the CPS2 version. Fortunately, at Vegas, we had our very first CPS2 version of that, and that was a good friend of mine. Very grateful for him bringing that, and I had to bring him onto the show sometime, and he brought a whole bunch of MAME consoles for it, and his own. What was great was we could hook up our Xbox 360 controllers to it. So same thing here. Big thanks to Sean Aldis for Vegas for bringing all the MAME CPS consoles for it, but this time it's going to be online. So Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and then finally we're going to have, for the first time, we've normally done Tetris Attack, but there's a few things a little bit better about Pokemon Puzzle League. They're basically the same games. It's just the port of this is a little bit better. So we're going to implement, for the first time, Pokemon Puzzle League and then finish off with Super Smash Brothers. Now, each game is they're all going to be on Saturdays, as you probably have noticed. The first one will start on each list, I believe. I'll have to look at the schedule again, but I believe each one at the top of the list starts at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then the second tournament on the list will take place at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now we'll go over the instructions if you have any questions about it. we'll be using RetroArch. So that is, again, a emulator that allows us to do a whole bunch of different things. See if I can pull it up for the window capture. So yeah, RetroArch. It is really cool. It allows you to do a whole lot of different things. Again, you can download all kinds of what they call cores. Those are the actual emulators. And then once you get the ROMs, we'll have all the. I'll show you the instructions, but you'll be able to see what ROM goes with which emulator, because it all works a little differently. Sometimes I had to go in and test them all myself. Now it may work differently with your computer, but I'm just going through all the different tests I did, and I want to make sure that you have the most stable release possible, so we don't have any issues when we do online play. Because that's the thing about online play is a lot of different things can happen, and we don't want those things to happen. We want our tournaments to run smoothly. And so let's go to the page. Again, June 20th through 26th. And each of these tournaments is going to have an entry fee. So it's $10 per tournament. I think that's pretty reasonable for any of these tournaments. And $8 goes into the pot, and $2 helps us cover our PayPal fees, our medals. If you've been to our tournaments, we've got really nice medals. We'll mail them to the winner and the runner-up, and then we do stream this, so we pay for Restream or Twitch or any of those things. That just helps us cover the cost. So I think it's pretty reasonable. Again, we will be providing medals to the winners and runner-ups, and we'll be streaming them. Mainly we'll be streaming the winners finals, the losers finals, and the grand finals on Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube. We decided to upgrade this year. Past few years we've only been doing Twitch, so this time around we are going to do stream on all three, so it gives you a few more options to watch. As I said, all tournaments except for Duke Nukem will use the emulator RetroArch. For Duke Nukem, we'll be using a program called HDuke, which will be used along with Yang 2020, which is the server, or the hosting, so to speak, for the online tournaments. And so in a little bit I'll show you a general summary of the rules and files of kind of how to get this work. I know it's a little bit complicated each time, so the great thing is you can message me anywhere. You can message me on Facebook or Twitter or or Discord for that matter. I'm really accessible, so if you have any questions, we'll definitely be able to get this fixed, or any issues fixed. I hope very, very, very quickly. Again, the first tournament on each list, as you can see, will start at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Second tournament will start at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Because this is online, we can't crowd you up into a group and keep you in the same place. So we are going to actually enforce real check-ins this time, 20 minutes prior to the start time. And so what you'll do is you have to sign up for Discord. And this is not just a way to get you on Discord. This is the easiest way for us to all get together in one place and communicate with each other, whether you have questions or issues or we need to choose sides. All of this will be within one channel on our Discord. And as you see there, if you go to this website, you can click the link and it'll take you straight to that channel. When you check in, you'll tag us so that we know you checked in. We'll get an alert. If you just say, "Oh, I'm checking in," well, I might not see the message, especially if we're getting a long one. But if we're getting a lot of messages, so if you actually tag me or tag the Retro World Series, we'll know you checked in, and that way we can get you in the bracket and make sure everything's good to go. When you've paid, down below, you'll get automatically put in the bracket. But if you don't check in, most of these tournaments are going to be double elimination. We are going to stick you in the losers bracket. That's just we have time constraints. Other players are going to be waiting, so that's how we're going to do it. And if you win, like I said, most of these tournaments are double elimination. If you win, please report your scores immediately to us and tag us so you make sure that we can see it. If you lose your match, don't go anywhere, please. We will get you in the losers bracket. We will get you to your match. And the great thing is you can actually communicate online with the other players. And I really recommend, and I'm going to update the page, I really recommend that you use the same gamer tag. If you don't have a Discord, please use the same gamer tag or same username for Discord as you use for your gamer tag, just so it's really easy for us to identify you. And as you see, the schedule's right there. That is the official schedule. That's really not going to change unless something catastrophic happens or we get a huge request for something different. But so all these, if you can see my cursor, all these are going to be going at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then over here, Tournament 2, these are 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you'll register. Make sure, obviously, a lot of you have followed us because you're listening. But for those who haven't followed us, please do. But also this little thing right here, this Discord, you must sign up for these tournaments so we can communicate with you, and vice versa. You can communicate with us. Now, I'm in the process of updating the gameplay rules because there are little idiosyncrasies there here and there, but pretty much all the games that we've done, tournaments we've done before, the rules should stay the same. I'm working on the Duke Nukem rules and a couple other tournaments that we haven't done before, like Windjammers, but they will be under the gameplay rules. The official rules just talk about competitive rules such as behavior, payouts, player of the year points, and yes, all these tournaments will count towards the player of the year competition, and which we weren't going to do because we weren't having any events, but now this allows us to keep the player of the year competition going. And we fully plan on being back in Vegas next year, so this would allow us to do a main event again and have a grand old time with huge, really nice trophies, payouts, all that kind of stuff. And maybe we'll see a 3-time player of the year, 3 in a row, or maybe we'll see someone new, or one of the old player of the years will come back. But again, this series, the Summer League Online, will count towards player of the year. So anytime, any rules about check-ins or anything like that, disciplinary rules, it's under the official rules. Our games are under the gameplay rules. Now, this is where it gets a little complicated, and so I'm trying to, and I will update it because I want things to be as simple as possible since we're dealing with software and a lot of different games. So all my instructions are based on Windows 7, Windows 10. Now, you may have a Mac or an Android, but you can use RetroArch for multiple platforms. A lot of people use it for RetroPies. Y'all already may know about this if you're listening, but these are based on this Windows operating systems just because that's what I use. I don't have a Mac. I don't have, I don't have the ability to make sure it works on that. So it will be up to you to make sure it works on another system if that's what you have or want to use. So I showed you the RetroArch website. That's where you're going to go download it. And there's a really good tutorial. There's tutorials all over the place, but I think this was the most all-encompassing one. And this will allow you to, figure out how to install everything. Some of the emulators, Neo Geo, NES, PlayStation, and Sega Dreamcast do require some extra files. And so I've told you exactly where you should put them. So if you have if you have a Windows operating system, go into your usually it's your C drive, your main drive that hosts Windows, and go to users, and then whatever username is, mine's like Hal Hawkins or whatever, and then app data, which it may be a hidden folder, but you can unhide it. There's ways of doing that really easy under folder options, RetroArch system, and then sometimes it'll just be under system, and sometimes it'll be under the particular emulator folder. But you need to put the system file, as the instructions state, into those folders to get the emulators to work properly. The only tricky part for one of them is the Dreamcast one, and again, that's because availability of ROMs, CDIs, that sort of thing, or ISOs for that matter. But you only have to do this once. It's called Dreamcast GDI to CHD. It's really easy. It just converts a GDI file that you'll download at these links below. Again, all these links, except for the save files, are hosted by third-party websites, so download at your own risk. However, you have to have the same ROM, and so that I'll link to. Now, they're hosted in multiple places, but again, you have to use the same ROM for the emulator for you to play against each other. So you will definitely need to make sure about that. If you need to know about, so what's going to happen is in the initial rounds for most of the tournaments, like the one-on-one tournaments, the fighting tournaments, especially if we have a lot of people, you're going to host your own matches. So what I'm going to recommend is that whoever, in a matchup of two people, whoever, y'all need to communicate with each other, and whoever has the best internet connection, y'all may know one has wireless, one has wired, or someone has a really good wireless while someone doesn't. The best connection needs to host. So when we get to the later rounds, when we start streaming, we will host it, and there shouldn't be any issues there. But this instruction manual straight from RetroArch is a really good tutorial or manual on how to establish the online gameplay. And again, make sure you have a really good internet connection if you're going to host. If there are issues with hosting, then we may step in. If two players don't have very good connections, we may step in and host it ourselves. Just as a, just to help out. And again, so as I said, each game requires its own emulator, or they're called cores, RetroArch cores. And so here on the far left column is a link to each of these games' ROMs or files. And this is the core for each one that I've tested that you must install with RetroArch. And you can do that. You just open up RetroArch and hit download a core. And again, for most of the MAME ones, it's the most up-to-date MAME. So like NBA Jam, when I tested them all, the most up-to-date MAME, it just says MAME, works fine with most of these MAME ROMs. I only ran into issues with a couple of them, and that was, so I had to go to an older MAME version, and that was for Primal Rage and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, where they work just fine. And there's a couple extra instructions. As I said earlier, with the GDI to CHD file converter, you only need to do it for two of them if you're going to play in them. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and NFL Blitz. I was able to find a CHD link for, I believe it was, Soul Calibur. So you don't have to do that conversion for Soul Calibur. Now, the save files, I'm hosting those just because some of them required certain conversions, so it's just easier for me to provide all of them for you. You have the instructions here where you should place those. It should be pretty self-explanatory. Now, again, this is for all tournaments except for Duke Nukem. So, Duke Nukem. This is the link to HDuke, which includes Yang 2020, the hosting service. So when you download it, you will use what's called the HYang shortcut, which will open up the server hosting. These are the three main maps that we're going to use. Depending on how many people we have signed up, we are going to use the stadium for some of them as well. It's a really fun one. I think, let's see here if I can show you a link to it. Well, I thought I had it. Maybe not. There it is. So this is the stadium version, and so that's going to be one of the maps we will use. The only reason I didn't include it in the map list right this second is because you don't have to download it. It should come included with the HDuke program. But yeah, a lot of fun, and just one big open arena, especially for an 8-man tournament. Now, one of the things about the Duke Nukem match is the number of players in each match will be dependent on turnout. So if we have over 32 players, we will do 8-man groups where the top 4 and those groups will advance to the next round. If we have under 32 players, we will have 4-man groups with the top 2 advancing to each round. And we've done these with our Halo tournament. So if you played in our tournaments, you should be pretty familiar with how it works. And yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially because it's such an awesome game. I've played it all the way through, and actually last year I sat down and I was like, I want to play Duke Nukem all the way through. and I did, and I beat it, and it was a lot of fun. And it got pretty hard at the end, but yeah, this multiplayer then becomes a whole different story. And I've been a part of some Duke Nukem tournaments as kind of like a partial host. Let's Play Gaming Expo with Zach, owner of ZTech, and it's just really fun. And Johnson John was there, and so this is going to be a fun tournament, I think. So back to where we were at. So these are the three. The Rodeo Shootout was actually a map that was used a long time ago in one of the, I think, original Duke Nukem championships. So it's one of those really balanced maps that that doesn't get too crazy. And in this case, since we're going to be doing large groups, it's going to be way easier for us to just host it all. And so you don't have to worry about hosting a Duke Nukem tournament or any of those matches for that matter. Again, controllers. You pretty much are. There's really not many restrictions there on controllers. I was testing most of these games with an Xbox 360 gamepad. I know that's heretical for being a retro guy, but it was just simpler than having. I have like a Mayflash. Like I said, I have a Tomy and a Mayflash adapter for SNES and 64 and PlayStation. It was just easier for me to use a 360 controller, but it worked out pretty well because I could customize the controls and I didn't have to keep unplugging different things. So feel free to use whatever you want. And then as far as choosing sides is concerned, when it comes to matchups or choosing characters or courses, you name it. There's a website called random.org/lists. And so what we'll do is we'll put, whether it's 2 players or 4 players or 8 players, we'll put your name in a list and randomly decide the order of sides or character selection or course selection. And that's once you've checked in on Discord, and we'll announce the results of the winner of those draws on Discord as well. Pretty much all the communication will be on Discord. So I think, unless anybody has any questions, I haven't seen any questions so far, which I guess means I'm either doing a fantastic job of explaining things or y'all are completely lost and I'm going to be flooded with a lot of messages pretty soon. So again, let's go over just a little bit again. Cheap entry fee, it's $10. I think that's pretty reasonable. And we've got a lot of really cool tournaments over 12 different weeks on Saturdays. If this lockdown continues, I think most of y'all will still be home, unfortunately, but now you'll have something fun to do. And I really hope that these have good turnouts and that it's going to be a lot of fun. So that pretty much covers it for our announcement. I think this is going to be really good. I don't know what this is going to lead to in the future. I don't know if we're going to be doing retro online all the time. I personally like doing tournaments online, but in person, that is. It's just fun to sit down and talk with people. It's a little bit more difficult to trash talk or just, converse with people and have fun. If you're doing it online, the live tournaments definitely add a much more personal touch, and it's fun to sit down and watch it on a big screen or even play it on a big screen. And but this is with everything being shut down, this is the best option we have. And so I'm really glad that we've been able to get all this work done to announce it and launch it. So our first tournaments, and we've already had signups for it. Super Mario Kart is going to be the second tournament, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. King of Fighters 98 will be the first tournament, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have any questions, you can either go visit us on Facebook and message us, or Twitter, or Discord, which, if you want to play in our tournaments, you need to get on our Discord channel. Or you can go online and, I guess I'll pull it back up. But if you go online, you can go to our contact page and fill out a form, and you'll be able to ask us questions about the tournaments. So we have plenty of ways for you to be able to contact us. I'm really looking forward to this. Again, I don't see any questions so far, so I guess I'm doing a fantastic job. So that pretty much covers it. We are doing 12 weeks of online retro tournaments from next weekend, July 20th, all the way to September 26th. And that really concludes episode 5. It didn't take that long as I thought. It was only about 40 minutes, a little under 40 minutes. So I know it was a lot of information to take in, and I really hope you'll go online and study how to use RetroArch. I had to do it. It took me a little while. It's an easy program, but when you're dealing with that many emulators and ROMs, it took a little bit of research just to figure it all out. So I definitely recommend you going online and finding well-reviewed or really reputable site or YouTube channels or websites to find out how to use them. And you may already know how. I mean, a lot of people these set up RetroPies. It's just a lot easier that way to instead of having a whole bunch of consoles to play retro games. So you may already have experience with that. But anyways, that concludes. I'm gonna play it one more time. It's only 30 seconds. So that concludes our episode about online for the summer. So as it said, go to RetroWorldSeries.com to sign up. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, so you can watch all the streaming or keep up to date with what's going on. You can also those are also all the platforms you can contact us on. Go to our website on our homepage, or we'll provide the link if you need it. The link is in the registration form as well. Go join us on our Discord channel. Next week, we will spend a little time just going over the basics again of RetroArch. If anybody has any questions to get ready for our tournaments, because it'll be Thursday and that'll be 2 days before our tournament, so that's a good time to just kind of go over everything. But we'll have another special guest, and that is going to be Steve DeLuca. He is the inventor of the Goofy Foot, which is basically an upside-down NES controller. He's a big Tetris guy. If you're into the Tetris World Championship or Classic Tetris World Championships, that is. He's run regional tournaments for that, and he created this controller. It's it's the reverse of what you normally know. So if you want to use your right hand for the D-pad, this is your chance, and a lot of Tetris players like it. He is going to be our special guest. I hope he's okay with me using the picture he posted on Facebook of him busting up his hands to make these controllers. So he puts his heart and his body, sweat, tears, blood, all that into it. And I think he's a really cool guy. You may have met him at he comes to quite a few conventions. You may have met him at, I've known him for a while. I believe I first met him at Game On Expo, if I'm not mistaken, but I also met him, at Let's Play Gaming Expo a few years ago, and he was hosting a regional there. And then I've met him or gotten to hang out with him again, Game On Expo or Retro City Fest. And so, really cool guy. We're going to talk a lot about Tetris. We're going to talk about the Goofy Foot and how he's able where he came up with the idea and what it takes to make one of those. So I hope you'll tune in next week, June 18th, same time as tonight, 8 p.m. Central Time. All right, I think that covers it. I look forward to hearing from you next week. I hope you'll all go online, RetroWorldSeries.com, to sign up for all of our great tournaments that we're going to have over the summer. I think that covers it. So have a good night, guys. See you next week.